I have an appointment with Mr. Matt Saxon. Is he well enough to be seen?
Apparently, Mr. Saxon has no idea what a hospital is for. He's in 901, and you'll have to join the mob that's trying to get past his private watchdog.
Thank you.
Still asleep. You can't go in there.
But I'm supposed to see Mr. Saxon at 4. Name is Bush.
Eric Bush? I'll see if he'll talk to you.
Hermie has already told us Saxon is asleep. You better prepare yourself to get nowhere.
The way he treats us, you'd swear his last 2 shows were hits instead of flops.
If that's the way you feel about him, why are you here?
I loved your last book, honey. I mean, it's got class. And still the average intelligent person like me can get most of it.
Thank you.
Oh, are you making it in play for Saxon?
No, I've never met Mr. Saxon.
Oh. You've never met Mr. Saxon.
He'll see you right away, Mr. Bush. For the rest of you people, there isn't a chance until tomorrow. Shut up! We're in a hospital.
Nice of you to come, Bush.
I hope you're recovering from whatever ails you.
Yeah, I always break my neck trying to find out what other people are reading, too. Snobbishness, I suppose. Do you play darts?
Should you?
Why not?
Well, I mean your health.
Oh, I'm not sick. I'm painting my house, and I can't stand the smell of paint.
Oh.
Can't stand hotels either. 50 cents a game, all right?
I guess so.
You married?
Yes.
Been married long?
6 years.
Live in New York?
We moved here from Virginia recently. I tried gentleman farming and found it didn't mix with writing.
Any children?
Not yet.
Why not?
Well, the war had me away 3.5 years, and anyway, there's plenty of time for children.
I owe you 50 cents.
Mr. Saxon, you should do something about those noisy people outside.
That is your problem and not mine.
Is there anything else I can do for you?
Yes, my flatulent Florence Nightingale, you can close that door from the outside. Very efficient woman, but her stupidity appalls me. Buy her a gift before I leave here. Where is that, what did you do with the... Oh, yeah. Tell me, Bush, how did you happen to write to me? I mean, me in particular. Did you ever see any of my productions?
Years ago. I've never forgotten them.
How does today's theater impress you?
What I've seen lately impresses me very little. For example...
Theater cannot compete with life in these melodramatic times. Politicians have stolen all our tricks and blown them up into Earth-size, untidy productions and discarded the happy endings. The playwrights, on the other hand, have all turned into do-gooders. I'm surprised that any sane novelist would want to fool with the theater these days, especially one as successful as you.
It's natural to want to try another medium.
Yes. Yes, this is not the first play about Moliere, you know.
No. I believe there are more than 30 in which he appears as a character.
33. First one in 1778.
1788.
Est-ce que vous êtes un érudit de la littérature française?
I don't speak French.
You don't speak French. Write a play about Moliere, well, you'll have to learn. I like the title. Comic Spirit. Tragedy.
Is that you, Eric?
Yep. Hi.
Hi.
What's the... Pardon the first one. What's in the package?
I don't know. A man staggered in with it.
Why'd you open it?
Because it's addressed to you. How did you do with Matt Saxon?
He's reading the play. He liked the title.
What kind of a man is he?
Oh, he's I don't know. Brilliant mind, of course, but his personality isn't something you can latch onto right away.
Do you like him?
I'd say I like him. Look, it's one of those cultural gadgets for learning foreign languages. A recording machine with a complete set of French records.
Are we planning to study French?
There's no note, not even a card. Matt Saxon. He must have put in a rush order for this the moment I left the hospital.
But why?
Well, I just happened to mention that I couldn't speak French. What a man.
You two kids must have hit it off more beautifully than you thought. And after only one date. The next time you see him, don't say anything about not knowing how to charm snakes.
Would you like to enroll in Professor Saxon's French class?
I'd love to, but I have a stove full of dinner. I'll listen from the kitchen.
Why don't you hire a cook?
Because I'm not smart enough in the head to have a career, and I hate women's clubs, and I kind of like myself in an apron.
Useful words and phrases. The day. Le jour.
Le jour.
Le jour.
Le jour.
Good evening. Bonsoir.
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 Bonsoir. That you, honey?
Yes, dear.
I've been waiting for you. I have to see my lawyer about those foreign publishing contracts.
Well, why didn't you go ahead?
There'd be no one here to answer the phone.
Still no call from Saxon?
No call.
Do you know what I'd do if a man didn't call me for 3 days? I'd call him.
But I can't. You know it's psychologically wrong for me to be anxious about the play.
Well, then it's psychologically right for you to pretend that you don't give a darn. Do you realize you haven't budged from this apartment?
It couldn't have taken him 3 days to read the play. But then, of course, he is busy on the one he's doing before mine.
Honey, we're paying good rent for our little shack on the island. Why don't we go there while we have the chance?
Would be cool there. And I certainly could use a swim right now.
That little hideaway's just what we both need. This heat's making us slap happy.
Look, could you pack for both of us and meet me at the airport at 5:30?
Could I? And this time I'll even pack some of the things you need. You tell that lawyer of yours that wives will wait, but airplanes won't.
Hello? Yes.
See? If you want action, all you have to do is threaten to leave town.
Mr. Saxon, didn't the buzzer work? I have Mr. Bush for you.
Yes, I know.
Why don't you talk?
He's not... Oh, hello?
Hello, Eric. Can I expect you at my office in 15 minutes?
I have to meet with my lawyer first. Could you make it 2 hours from now?
This is imperative. There's a man here that I want you to meet. Call your lawyer and tell him you'll see him some other time. All right, what's his name? I'll call him.
No. I'll call him. All right, 15 minutes. He didn't say whether he liked the play or not.
You didn't ask him. You'd better run along and find out. I'll call your lawyer.
I don't know. I wish he'd given me some kind of a hint.
Eric, I'm delighted to see you. You're right on time. We're not to be disturbed. I warn you, I've improved beyond all competition. Here, and don't step beyond that line in the carpet.
Darts. What about the man you wanted me to meet?
Oh! Send in Zach Humber. Waiting in another office. I forgot all about it.
May I ask who Zach Humber is and whether or not you liked my play script?
Zach Humber, Eric Bush. Eric Bush, Zach Humber.
Hello.
Zach is the only man I know who's temperamentally inclined to be a billionaire. Most of us only want to be millionaires, but not Zach. Sorry to keep you waiting, Zach. What detains you, Eric?
Oh, don't worry about me. I used the time to close a big deal on the phone out there. Oh, say, and it's okay with my wife for tonight.
Fine. And how about Mrs. Bush?
How about what about Mrs. Bush?
Oh, yes, I forgot to tell you. We're all dining together to celebrate.
Celebrate?
Hasn't it occurred to you that I'm going to do your play and that Zach is going to back us?
Well, it's a limited partnership for tax reasons.
Then you like the play?
Like it. I was completely entranced by it. You've made the transition from novelist to playwright without losing one iota of your talent.
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Oh, I think the play is sensational.
When did you read it?
Matt told it to me. It is terrific. You know, I never knew that Moliere had it so tough.
You never knew there was a Moliere.
And that part where he denounces the king. Wow!
Denounces the king.
Yes, a little idea I had, Eric, that I wanted to talk to you about. You realize, of course, that no play ever reaches the stage in the form in which it was originally written.
A denunciation scene.
I'll expect you to work very closely with me on the few changes we think are necessary. Agreed?
Of course, I'll appreciate the opportunity to learn.
You know, Dolly is going to love this play. She is nuts about anything with a problem in it.
It's going to be a great experience for both of us. For you, the thrill of having the theater revealed to you as the bewitching taskmistress that she is, and for me, the honor and pleasure of presenting this fine, fresh talent that you possess.
Say, what about casting? You think we can get Van Johnson?
Slave of the money temples, we cast when the script is right and not before.
Well, I didn't know. You know, Dolly is higher than a kite about Van Johnson.
You better go and get your Dolly and meet us at Schindler's at 8 o'clock.
Sure. No, we'll be on time.
Yes. Goodbye. You better telephone your Janet.
How did you know her name?
Little matter of inquiry. Tell her that Alma will pick her up at 7:30. Alma Ragg. W-R-A-G-G-E. Charming girl and a singer. Don't ask me why she never changed her name.
I better pick her up myself. I think she'd prefer that.
Get Mrs. Bush for Mr. Bush.
Now, wait.
We can stay here and discuss the script. Oh. Yes, I must remember to order some flowers for the ladies. Oh, what color's Janet's hair?
Red. Brown eyes.
Zach's Dolly, on the other hand, will be a platinum blonde. She will require a large orchid, an orchid-colored orchid. My, if only the problems of life were as simple as that, hmm?
Suppose Dolly's a brunette.
There's nothing to be gained in speculating about miracles. That will be Janet. I owe you 50 cents.
Oh, no, thank you. That's Miss Ragg.
Thank you, Mrs. Hammer. And Mr. Hammer. When you've known Matt Saxon as long as I have, you'll realize the sandwich couldn't possibly interfere with the dinner date.
Well, he said 8 o'clock. It's almost half past.
I can't understand Eric's being late. He's always on time.
But tonight he's with Matt Saxon. Janet, from now on, your life's gonna be one long series of it never happened before.
Hey, Dolly, there's our pal. You know the fellow who writes the column in the Mirror?
Oh, yes, him. I've been in his column 3 times. Can you imagine? Unimportant little me.
Hey, I think we ought to go over and say hello. Would you excuse us?
Oh, certainly business before pleasure. What is it about that female that you and I don't like?
Dolly isn't what's bothering me. It's just that when Eric asks me to meet him...
Janet, take a good long look at your husband tonight.
You've been trying to tell me something. What is it?
We've known each other less than 2 hours, and yet I feel as though I've known you for 2 years. Janet, I think I can talk to you like a sister.
Go ahead, I'd like to hear.
If I talk, I'll pin your ears back.
I'm willing to take that chance.
All right. Matt Saxon is the most brilliant man in the theater today. Even his enemies admit this. But his last two plays as a doggone intellectual, no one knew what they were about. He's always had a certain contempt for people, but he has it now more than ever. Especially toward the fact they have lives of their own to live. Even the cleverest are hooked once the Saxon charm goes to work. A smart wife would get her husband away from Saxon while there's still a chance. While he's his own master, standing on his own hind feet.
I thought you were Saxon's friend.
You mean his girl? I'm not. I am his friend, as much as anyone can be. I wish I could understand how I could love him and still warn you about him. I wish I didn't love him so much. Wish I could keep my big mouth shut. Forget what I said, honey. I mean, don't forget what I said, but forget that I said it.
Now, this could be no one but Janet Bush.
How do you do?
How do you do? You confirm my faith in your husband's good taste. And my own little Alma, Eric Bush.
How do you do? Pardon the hamburger, gentlemen, but I'm only human.
Darling, you're late.
I'm sorry.
It's entirely my fault. I forced him into a game of darts just so that I could get even.
Darling?
Why are you all sitting here? You could be waiting at my table.
We could if you'd had a table.
Of course I have a table. Come along.
Just in case.
Well, Matt, about time you showed up. Darling, here you are, Matt Saxon and Eric Bush in person. How do you do?
This is marvelous. In the same dinner party with two big celebrities.
You didn't tell me, Zach, that you'd married a child. Welcome to our new partnership, Mrs. Humber.
Oh, Zach told me about the play. It sounds dreamy, but simply dreamy.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Who are you? Where's Otto?
Otto's gone, sir. We recently changed hands, but the old chef is still here.
Well, the chef's the important one. My name is Saxon. I hope you saved me a good table.
I'm sorry, sir, but I'll do the best I can with no reservation.
But I made a reservation. The message was with the flowers I sent.
Flowers? Oh, the box addressed to Otto.
Yeah.
But with Otto gone, sir, I just couldn't accept it.
Well, it's all right. We can't eat flowers.
I'm sorry, sir.
You're sorry?
I'll give you the best table I can, sir. Please.
Yes, but this is ridiculous. It's right in a line here from the kitchen.
If you'd rather wait a few minutes, sir.
Wait?
Anyone care to join me for dinner?
If you don't mind, I'll order for all of you. There are only certain dishes here that are good. I'll have some of this wine, which I won't bother to pronounce. You wouldn't know what I was talking about. And I want 6 orders of stuffed cabbage and some side orders of chopped chicken liver.
No stuffed cabbage for me, thank you.
But you must try it. It's a specialty here. It's exquisite.
But cabbage murders me. I'd be perfectly happy with a broiled steak, rare.
5 orders of stuffed cabbage. Ask that busboy to stop rattling those dishes. Where'd you get him, in a boiler factory? For dessert, we'll have some Apfelpannkuchen. They have the world's best pastry chef here.
Well, if I ever ate anything that sounded like that, I'd have half of it on each hip in the morning.
And I think I'd prefer sherbet.
I will have Apfelpannkuchen.
Me too. I can eat anything.
Right now, I'd be more interested in selecting an entree.
Eric, I'd like to remind you that I am ordering for you. The lowly cabbage. Lifted to the heights of heavenly cuisine. You lied. This stinking mess, it's unbelievable. The old chef is gone.
I told you he's still here. That's the truth.
Take it away.
I'm the owner, sir. We'll get you something else.
You'll get me nothing. I bring my friends here for a decent meal, and what do you serve them? Swill.
Get his check this minute. Charge him for what has been served.
It'll be a pleasure to pay for this garbage and donate it to the rats in your kitchen. Give me a blank check.
Sorry, we do not cash checks.
Do you know who I am?
I'll take the check.
No, you won't. Do you know who I am?
This is Matt Saxon, the famous theatrical producer.
I don't know anything about Matt Saxon or theatrical producers. All I know is
get out of here. Get out of this fascist pest hole.
Can we leave through a side exit?
I'll get my hat. Would you like to go someplace and eat?
No, thanks, dear. I couldn't.
I wish you wouldn't be upset, darling. A person who acts like he did just can't help it.
Anyone can help that. Exposing a whole table full of people, strangers at that, to such rotten behavior.
He was terrible, wasn't he?
Eric, you know I've never tried to influence your writing in any way, but this once, would you mind if I made a suggestion?
Of course not.
Why don't you tell Saxon that you don't want to be associated with him? That you want him to release you?
It's a very unusual thing to do.
Do you want to work with him?
I suppose not, actually. He is a brilliant man at the theater, and I could learn a lot from him, but he's had me on edge since the day I met him, and now he's humiliated you. I'd be an idiot to become involved with a man like that.
Now you're talking. What do you think you'll do about it?
Oh, I'll just go to him tomorrow and ask him for a release. But he's such a tricky talker.
Well, he can't talk any better than you can write. Send him a letter.
That's a better idea. I'll write him tonight, and he'll get it tomorrow morning.
Is this the Eric Bush residence, and is this Mr. Eric Bush? I'm delighted to meet you. I've always admired writers. I've tried a little writing myself, as a matter of fact. Been working?
Not exactly, no.
May I come in?
You're in.
There are one or two things that I'd like to discuss with you. My name is Saxon, Matt Saxon. I'm in the theatrical business.
Come into the den.
Thank you. Ah, success. Is it any wonder these days that first novels are always the best ones, written when poor, put down after hours as an escape from the ordeals of life as a haberdashery clerk? Haberdashery clerk. That's supposed to be your cue.
For what?
You offer me a brandy. Don't make it important. Just throw the line away.
Don't tell me you came all the way up here just for a drink.
As a matter of fact, I came up here to discuss with you our joint venture, the comic spirit. Where is your charming wife?
Where any wife would be after your performance tonight, in bed with a headache.
Oh, please, no important lines yet. It's far too early.
What do you mean by that?
Why do you think I've been indulging in all this small talk? I've been demonstrating something about the theater that no novelist understands.
What don't I understand?
Haven't you noticed? I've been demonstrating the leisurely opening of the play form. In a novel, your opening line can have terrific impact. Take as an example the first line of Kafka's Metamorphosis. Remember? Quote, "As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from a troubled dream, he found himself changed in his bed to some monstrous kind of vermin." Unquote.
I remember. And how would you do that in a play?
Well, let's say a novelist had written the play. Lights down, curtain up. A sudden shriek from Samsa's mother as she looks into the bedroom. Her daughter rushes in, asking, "What's the matter?" "Your brother," says the old lady, "has turned into a cockroach," and she faints dead away.
I don't say that's good, but what's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it? Never throw your opening punch so quickly, as you did just now about my horrible behavior tonight. Let your audience become part of the theater, part of the play. Let them become accustomed to the actors. And then, slip them the hot foot. See?
I see. That means that the opening of my play is wrong. That I shouldn't introduce my principles in the middle of an argument.
You're a bright student, Eric. Assignment for tomorrow. One opening scene, rewritten and double-spaced.
I'll get at it first thing. Saxon.
Trouble?
Yes,
Janet and Alma got along very well, didn't they?
So I heard.
Tell me, what did you think of Alma?
Alma, I liked her very much.
Alma Rag, isn't that a terrible name? Did you ever hear an uglier name in your life?
I knew a man named Rag, my hometown in New Mexico.
New Mexico? Oh, that accounts for your being out of the mainstream.
What do you mean? This play is the only uncontemporary thing I've ever done.
But you write of issues only among and between individuals. You never write of group problems.
The more concerned a writer becomes with a group, the worse he gets. The material of fiction is the unique character, not collective man.
That's very easy to say, but some individuals defy you to put them down on paper.
I've never met a person I couldn't write about.
I have.
Who?
Kid from 10th Avenue. Kid by the name of Joe Speck.
You couldn't write about a child?
I couldn't write about the child when he became a man.
But if you understood him as a child...
I didn't understand him. You wouldn't. Nobody could. He was a violent, rebellious kid. He was ashamed of his parents. Ashamed of their poverty. He stole money from the till in his mother's little stationery store. And when they argued with him about it, he wrecked the store.
Nice kid.
I told you he was difficult to understand. When he grew up, he borrowed every penny his family had to go into business. Made a fortune for them and then lost it. When they complained, he left home. He's never seen his parents since.
What happened to the parents?
I wouldn't know. As for Speck, he's convinced that the world is headed for mass suicide, and nothing is of importance anymore except himself. His arrogance has become unbearable. He cares nothing for happiness or success. He'd jump off a cliff if he didn't have to climb it first. What is there to do when a man deliberately works against himself and knows that he's doing it? He knows it at the moment of the act. It's an instant of premeditated disaster. He deliberately foments ill will among his fellows and gets kind of a drunken elation out of it. What do you make of that?
I understand you're Joe Speck in a way. He's never mastered control over himself, so he pretends to delight in flaunting his fellow man. I might have become Joe Speck myself.
You? I don't believe you.
My character transformation came about when I was just a kid. 11, as a matter of fact. Until that age, I was addicted to violent rages, even as your Joe Speck. I had an older brother who always seemed to be taking unfair advantage of me in games. One time, I decided I'd had enough of his bullying, so I jumped him and we tussled, until suddenly I went berserk. There was a Boy Scout hatchet lying nearby, and I picked it up and threw it at him. But he ducked, and it missed his head by less than an inch. It was razor sharp and going blade first. There was a tree about 2 feet back of his head, and it hit that tree and stuck for a moment. When it fell out, sap started bleeding from the bark. I'm not responsible for the transformation in me, but I've not been capable of deep, unreasoning anger since that day.
You should have grabbed the hatchet and tried again. That's what I would have done.
It's pretty late. You'd better come to bed.
Oh, hello, dear. I thought you were asleep. I'll be with you in a minute.
I eavesdropped on some of your conversation. I discovered something about you. Now I know why you can control your temper so well.
Oh, that. It slipped my mind until tonight.
Is that the letter you were writing to Saxon?
Janet.
Listen, you don't have to explain to me. If this is what you want to do, go ahead and do it. After all, I'm not the one who has to work with him.
Hey. You know, every now and then I'm reminded of why I married you in the first place.
Come on.
Good afternoon. I have an appointment with Mr. Saxon at 5:30.
I left Matt at rehearsal a half hour ago. He said to tell you to meet him at the Fuss and Feathers. More changes he made in The Barefoot Man. How can you ever open a play with half of it always in the typewriter?
I beg your pardon, did you say Fuss and Feathers?
Yeah. That nightclub on 52nd Street. He's meeting you there after rehearsal.
But we were going to discuss changes on my play, The Comic Spirit. You can't do that in a nightclub.
Mr. Bush, if I was you, I'd settle for the nightclub. Otherwise, you might wind up in a steam room.
Hi.
Hi. Of course you're looking for Matt, and of course he's at rehearsal. You know, when he's working, there is no such thing as time.
I hope he gets a hit. I hope he gets 2 hits.
Oh, you're very generous in a selfish sort of way.
Are you meeting Matt here?
Oh, this is the big moment of my life. I'm auditioning here tonight.
Well, you didn't say anything about it last night.
Well, I didn't know it then. Saxon arranged it after last night's little outburst. The Saxon charm is always turned on full the next day.
It's after 6, and Janet's expecting me for dinner at 7, so excuse me, I better call.
Well, right on time. Nice of you to meet me here. Where's Chris?
The bartender said he'd be along any minute.
Chris is the great god proprietor. He's going to sit in judgment on Alma's little act. Well, sit down, sit down. So you're not going to spend all evening on your feet.
I was going to call Janet. She's expecting me for dinner.
Ask her to join us here. She and Alma got along beautifully. Besides, you probably owe her an evening in a nightclub.
But if we're going to talk about the play...
Plenty of time for that later.
Oh, please ask her. Tell her I can use all the support I can get.
If you like, I'll phone her.
No, I'll call her.
Oh, Matt, I'm scared stiff. I appreciate this opportunity, but I've never worked in a nightclub before.
No, don't worry about it. I'm here to see that you display your routines to the best advantage. Perhaps that rusty talent of yours could stand some oil.
Well, no, dear. He hasn't read it yet. What I'm calling about is that we're at the Fuss and Feathers. Fuss and Feathers. It's a nightclub. Alma's going to have a tryout here, and then we're to have dinner and discuss the play.
Oh, no, thanks. It's a business meeting, really. I think I'd enjoy my dinner more here.
Alma's very anxious to have you, and I think Saxon wants to make amends for last night. Give him another chance, honey, for me.
All right. Just this once, as long as Alma's there. Yes. Fuss and Feathers. Oh, that's all right. The cab driver will know. See you soon, dear.
Ah, Mrs. Bush, I'm amazed by your ability to make this stunning entrance at such short notice.
Well, it was nothing. I just shoved the dinner to the back of the stove and took a bath.
You're just in time.
Hi, chum. He means just in time for nothing.
Oh, yes, and this is Chris, last name mercifully forgotten. He owns everything as far as the eye can see here.
How do you do?
Mrs. Bush.
Chris, is it okay to start?
Sure, anytime.
Remember, this is better in front of an audience.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Two-bar introduction.
I'm in the mood for love.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
What's the matter, Matt?
Do something with that, will you? Don't just sing a number. Make a scene of it. Take advantage of the fact that you're in a nightclub. Use it as you would a set. The critics would say you have a masterpiece of realism here if you could put this on a stage. You've got dozens of props around you. Busboys, waiters, drunks, customers. Put them in the act. They'll love it. Your number starts up there. The whole place is dark. You pick her up with an overhead spot.
But, Mr. Saxon, we haven't got a spot up there. We can't.
Well, rig one so that you can. Forget the beat and follow her. No. Don't stand there like a sculptor's nightmare. Here, your number starts here at the bar. This thing got a verse?
Oh, Matt, no one sings verses anymore. That's old-fashioned.
Nothing that is good and has a purpose is old-fashioned. I'll settle for 50% of the verse.
First 8 bars.
Lovely interlude, most romantic mood.
Sing it to the man next to you.
Your attitude is right, dear.
Now the other side.
Sweetheart, you have me under a spell. I'm in the mood for love.
Now to both of them.
Simply because you're near me. Funny, but when you're near me, I'm in the mood.
You, come
stars we're under. Oh, is it any wonder I'm in the mood for love? I stop to think of whether...
Hold it. Now what do you think you're doing?
Singing to a customer.
No. You're too far down into the number to do that. From now on, sing it to everybody.
From
Come
the
on.
bridge?
Yes, from the bridge.
Why stop to think of whether...
Yeah.
I stop to think of whether this little dream might
Find the first empty chair.
We'll put our hearts
No. Take it with you.
Now we are one. I'm not afraid.
Sit down.
If there's a cloud above, if it should rain, we'll let it. But for tonight, forget it. I'm in the mood for
I'm not worried, Mr. Saxon. She's okay.
She's better than that.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you could stay over for the first floor show tonight. I've got an Adagio team in a chorus that could stand some improvement.
Roughly speaking, my time is worth about $5,000 an hour. I'll settle for this ringside table and dinner for all of us.
It's a deal.
Shall I show my rhythm routine next, Matt?
No. Save your feet. You open tomorrow night.
Just like that?
I love your act, Alma, what I saw of it.
Thank you, Janet.
Have anything special in mind for dinner, Mr. Saxon?
The best steak in the house for Mrs. Bush. I'll leave the rest of it up to you. But remember, the quality of my criticism is in direct proportion to the quality of your food.
Don't worry, I know a bargain. Excuse me, please.
Thank you, Matt. I don't think I could have made it alone.
Did I tell you, Eric, I liked your new opening scene?
No, you didn't.
Well, it gives us a good, solid premise. Also, it points up clearly the need for another scene later on. Not a rewrite, but a completely new scene.
What kind of a scene?
One that gets the backstage flavor of show business into the script. Have you any ideas?
Well, you might use the Michael Barone incident right out of Moliere's biography.
That's perfect. I wonder why I didn't think of that.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll bet you did think of it.
Careful around her, Matt. She's from St. Louis, too.
Lovely city.
That would eliminate the need for the little offstage scene in the third act.
Yes, I have some suggestions about that, too. Also, some revisions that will be necessary later on. Now, about the opening scene of your second act.
This air feels good. I'm glad we're walking home.
I should have written down those changes he suggested.
I'll forget half of them.
Darling, I know it's late, but I don't feel a bit sleepy. Let's sit down for a little bit.
Sure.
Tell me, do you agree with all of his ideas?
Almost have to. He knows so much more about the theater than I do.
He did do a lot for Alma tonight. And he seemed like a different man. You know something?
What?
She's up to her ears in love with him.
How do you know?
Well, she told me so in the powder room. She also told me he's been married to some girl who's been eating her heart out ever since they broke up.
He doesn't look like a man who's ever been married.
You mean he doesn't look like a man who would stay married, even for money? Alma tells me Saxon's ex-wife is really rich. Darling. I was just thinking how lucky I am to be married to Eric Bush. Maybe it's a foolish thing for a wife to say, but I think you're perfect just the way you are. Just the way you are.
You sound like a bride.
Don't let anything change you, Eric. Please don't. can turn the light on, dear.
I didn't want to disturb you.
Did you like what you wrote today?
No. But I think I understand what he wants now.
Is it what you want?
How would I know? I'm sorry, dear. But I'm so completely confused I can't tell good from bad anymore. All I can do is keep rewriting until he's satisfied.
I've never seen you this tired. No wonder you don't know what you're writing.
At least I'm on the third act now and can't last much longer.
Eric, I know something as sure as I know my own name. Nothing you're going to write from now on is going to be any good. Unless you can get away from New York and nightclubs for a while.
He likes to discuss each scene as I write it.
Well, let him discuss them all at once. Just think how much clearer your mind would be. How much better you could write if we could spend the next week at our home on the island.
I'd love it. I'd love it. It just can't be done.
Who says it can't be done? Listen, if Eric Bush wants to take his wife for a walk in the woods and fill his lungs with fresh air for a change and sleep through a long, cool night so he can write and really know what he's writing about, who's going to stop him?
We'll leave tomorrow. I'll call Saxon's secretary first thing in the morning and tell her we're leaving for the island. I'm sorry there's no telephone, and Saxon will have his last act when I get back. I won't call till the last minute, till just before we get on the plane.
Now you're making sense.
And as for you, Mrs. Bush, it'll be nice knowing you again.
The same to you, stranger.
Curtain, the end.
Wonderful.
You know, I feel good for the first time since I finished that first draft and thought I had a play.
You'll feel even better after you've relaxed for a few days. How much longer can we stay on the island?
I'll mail him the third act. It should be at least a week till he gets the message back to me.
Oh.
Anyway, he's busy on the other play.
1 whole week. Our second honeymoon. Isn't this something?
What's the matter?
That yacht, whose is it?
I don't know.
Ahoy there, Eric Bush! Eric Bush! Ahoy!
Matt Saxon.
Oh, no.
Eric Bush, ahoy!
Hi, Matt. What a boat. I didn't know he had one. Let's swim over. They're stopping.
Look at them. Like fish. Fasten aboard the rotten egg.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're the first mermaid we've taken aboard.
Hello.
Here you are.
Hi.
Don't we look wealthy, Janet?
Oh, yes, this is the fanciest yacht we've ever seen around these parts.
Zach and I were just saying what wonderful swimmers you two are, but divine. Hey, let's try it, Zach.
Yeah.
Did you bring the third act?
I have it right here in my hip pocket. Say, when did all this happen?
The darndest thing I ever saw. Matt watched the dress rehearsal of The Barefoot Man and went right out and put a down payment on this tub.
Come on, Daddy, let's change. Sax is so sure he has a hit, he isn't even having an out-of-town tryout. Opening cold in New York tonight.
That's wonderful, Matt.
Aren't you going to be there?
And why should I? The audience is only finding out what I already know. Besides, my presence would only tend to add to the tension of the performers. To remove any doubt from the minds of my friends, I've chartered a seaplane. Hermie is flying the notices down. Will meet us at Buzzards Bay tomorrow.
Now, isn't that much simpler than buying tickets?
And how's our next big hit coming along?
I just finished the rewrites a few minutes ago.
That's perfect. I'll have one of the crew take you and Janet to the island. You can pick up some clothes and a script.
Clothes?
Well, we're a rather conservative little group, as long as you're joining our cruise.
But Eric and I had planned on spending a few days on the island together. After all, he's been working night and day on that script.
That's right, Matt. We appreciate the invitation, but what I need now is a bit of rest.
I haven't asked you to sign on as one of the crew, Eric. You can relax to your heart's content while I look over the script. You're still interested in the play, aren't you?
Of course.
We made this special trip to your island in the hope that you would join us.
It would be a nice change, Janet.
Yes, I guess it would.
Captain! You will love Captain Chatham. He's perfectly cast. Captain!
ask you not to shout at me. My crew don't like it.
Mr. and Mrs. Bush live on that island. I want you to take them ashore in the power launch. They will pick up some things and rejoin us.
Right there?
Right there.
I'll have them taken ashore in the dinghy.
Why not the power launch?
Too big. It don't make sense for such a short trip. Lowering the dinghy's easier.
And who are you to say what is easier? You'll do as I ordered.
I reckon not.
You stupid New England blockhead. Whose ship is this? Stop behaving like an admiral and do as I say.
Either you let me do things the right way on this ship, or I won't be your captain. You've got to make up your mind about that right now, Mr. Saxon.
Very well, Captain. I bow to your obviously superior intelligence.
Thank you. Right this way, folks. The dinghy will be ready in a jiffy.
Nice change for us, huh?
Don't pay any attention to him, Matt. You can be my captain anytime.
Matter of fact, the old mule is right. Should compliment myself on selecting him.
This is the first fresh air I've smelled since I joined Chris's floor show.
It was sweet of Chris to give me the weekend off, but you know, it hurt my pride to realize the show could get along without me.
Good thing you did realize it. A girl married to show business does not make a very good wife.
Matt, do you realize what you just said?
Well, the only reason that I haven't mentioned it before is that I've had hard luck for the last couple of years. You know that.
Oh, Matt, it's so wonderful to hear you talk about marriage. I thought that was the one subject that had you tongue-tied.
Well, even if I haven't spoken about it, why, I've always thought of the two of us together. Now that I'm free of financial worries.
Except for the worry of paying for this yacht.
I can see that you don't appreciate the enormity of my success. Perhaps the quality of my wedding gifts will convince you.
Oh, Matt, there were so many times when I thought I'd lost you. All those starry-eyed, ambitious, young, beautiful women willing to do anything for Matt Saxon. I may be living in the wrong generation, but marriage is very important to me.
Well, you can relax now.
Time to relax is when I hear a ringing in my ears. The ringing of wedding bells.
Alma, the plane.
I'm praying, Matt.
Something already accomplished?
If you only knew what this meant to me.
Oh, were those the notices? I woke up just in time.
Good morning, Hermie. These people are very anxious to read about last night's opening. I suggest you give the Times to Mr. and Mrs. Bush, the Herald Tribune to Miss Ragg, and the Mirror and the News to...
I think you better read them yourself, boss.
Bad?
Very bad.
But how can that... Did you check the afternoon papers?
All but the Post. Stinko. I couldn't believe my eyes when I read them. I was as sure as you were that we had a smash. Couldn't tell much from the audience last night. Then came these. How do they get away with writing this stuff? How do they decide you're wrong and they're right?
Post the notices. We're closing right away.
But, Matt, we still got a chance. Okay, the critics knifed you again, but at least let's try to break even.
Can't cure rigor mortis with smelling salts, and who cares about breaking even?
Who cares about breaking even, he says. It's not my money backing that one, but if it was, I'd care plenty about getting it back. You're always talking like the fellow who puts up the money isn't important.
Boss, we got just about all the trouble we can handle.
You overdressed moron, you've got about as much right to be connected with the theater as the glue in a supernumerary's wig. Why, what foul process of reasoning do you believe that a fat pocketbook left you by a stupid father gives you any control over the destiny of the theater?
I don't have to stand for that kind of talk.
And I don't have to listen to the opinions of a fat pig reeking of hair oil and cigars.
Oh, let him rave on till he chokes to death, but we don't have to stand here and listen. Come on, Zach.
Anybody care for a drink? Mrs. Bush. Alma? Eric, can I speak to you for a minute?
The way that man insults money.
How do you feel, Eric? About our project, I mean. Have you had a change of heart?
Why should I?
I can think of any number of valid reasons why you wouldn't want me as your producer. My obvious run of bad luck, or incompetence. I can understand how any successful writer might choose to end his association with me. I'm giving you that opportunity, Eric.
Matt, a batch of newspaper clippings can't destroy my faith in your ability. I still consider it a privilege to work with you.
Thank you, Eric. I should never have doubted you for a minute. Now, how about that third act?
So you finally got around to it, huh?
We can go over it on the plane.
Plane?
On the way to New York.
But I have to go back to the island.
You haven't time. This closing makes it imperative we put your play into production right away. Get the script for me, will you? Come along, Hermie. Captain!
Excuse me.
Captain!
It's a good thing we aren't still in bathing suits. It would be quite a sight stepping off that plane in New York.
Janet, you better go back to the island. I'll wire you when things are a little less hectic. All right?
Bring the plane alongside. Captain!
Matt, I don't care whether you own $1 million or owe $1 million. The most important thing is
You were shouting for me again, Mr. Saxon. I asked you not to.
I was completely in error, Captain. I hope you will accept my most humble apologies.
Now that I'm here, perhaps you wanted me for something?
Oh, yes. At your pleasure, Mrs. Bush is to be returned to the island. Mr. and Mrs. Humber transported to New York. And Miss Ragg to be disposed of in whatever manner that she desires. I hope I have not overstepped my bounds in making these few simple requests.
No, sir.
I'm in a hurry to get aboard the plane. Unfortunately, I may never see you again.
Not see me? What about the ship, sir? What shall I do with her?
I suggest you scuttle her.
How are you, honey?
You and me both.
I finished it, Eric. There's nothing there. Nothing. Oh, everything we discussed is in it. There's action without emotion. There isn't a goose pimple in the entire third act.
I'm sorry, Matt.
No sorrier than I am. I'd hoped to start casting by Monday. It's a great disappointment to me, Eric, a great disappointment.
Could you give me anything specific?
I could. Scene by scene. Almost line by line. It's that bad.
Matt, if you still like the first two acts, maybe you can get a professional playwright to do a satisfactory third act.
That was a very difficult thing for you to say, Eric. I admire you for it. Look, Eric, I'm tearing this up for your sake. There won't be any writer on that third act. You'll rewrite it yourself from scratch. No preconceptions, no notes. Just write it. Action, supercharged with emotion. That's your objective. And I still have faith in you, Eric. Great faith.
Matt, listen.
Have you ever tried writing alone, Eric?
Alone?
There's a distraction in that third act, Eric. The distraction of a man and a woman on an island. Have you ever tried writing completely alone?
Why should I?
Work wonders with a man like you. You've never fully employed your talent because you've never known the elation of creating in absolute solitude, in a world of your own making, in a world of your own play. All irritating trivialities banished from your mind. It's the way to lick that third act, Eric. The only way.
Hello. Yes? Mexico City. Matt, what the devil are you doing in Mexico?
Suppose you let me ask the questions. How's the new third act?
Well, I'm on the last scene now. It should be just a matter of minutes.
Perfect timing. Hermie's getting you plane reservations. Pick him up at the office and I'll meet you at the Mexico City airport.
But, Matt, wait a minute. I can't go to Mexico.
Ah, of course you can. You're a grown boy.
Is Zach Humber with you?
What did you hear about Humber? Oh. Well, I thought you might have heard some distorted gossip about my throwing him out of the partnership. That crook tried to claim me as a deductible income tax item.
But, Matt, I really shouldn't go. Janet's waiting for me up at the island and...
Oh, you'll only be gone 2 or 3 days. And when we get back, we'll be all ready to start casting. Would Janet object to that, even if she knew? Good. Oh, and incidentally, Eric, I think it best you not mention this trip to anyone. I'll explain when you get here. Nobody will know you've gone. I can't wait to read that third act. See you tomorrow night.
Eric, my strong, silent friend, welcome to Mexico City.
Matt, if you can give me one good reason for...
Oh, yes, I want you to meet Victoria Grace Vivian Elizabeth Riddell. Eric Bush.
Vivian. Vivian Saxon. I'm still clinging to Matt's name, whether he admits it or not. That's the privilege of an ex.
It's a woman's intuition, I suppose. Come on, we'll show you the sights of Mexico City from a ringside table.
An orchid tonight, Senor Saxon?
Yes, indeed, an orchid. An orchid for the most beautiful lady in the world. Oh, but you haven't got the proper shade. She requires just the faintest tint of pastel green. Her delicate beauty must be set off properly. Find me the orchid that I want. Find it if you have to comb all of Mexico.
Si, senor.
Yes.
I think I'll tidy up a bit.
Yes, of course. What do you think of her?
Very attractive. I'd heard you had an ex-wife.
Yes, when we were married, she always wanted to back one of my plays. However, it seemed sort of unethical. Now I feel free in permitting her to make another fortune.
Then she's backing the play?
She is our answer to that moron, Zach Humber.
It's all set.
Well, it's only a question of time. You can understand, however, why I asked you not to say anything about this trip. It's open to all kinds of misinterpretations.
Ah, Senor Saxon, from New York. For hours, the operator has been trying to get in touch with you.
Oh, thank you, Jose. I'm using this as my Mexico City office. It's very convenient, and the wine is good. Show him where he can wash his hands for 5 pesos.
This way, please.
Hello, operator.
It's so wonderful to be with Matt again. I thought he'd forgotten I was on Earth. What's come over him, Mr. Bush?
How do you mean?
Oh, something's happened to mellow him. He's as gentle as a lamb, so considerate and attentive. I never stopped loving him, even through the divorce. And now that I have him back, it's almost too good to be true.
Well, I guess it's just that Matt needs someone like you.
Yes, I'm still here. I'm practically taking root. Hello, Hermie. What's on your fat little mind?
We're in trouble, boss. The word got out that Humber isn't backing us anymore, so already there's $38,000 worth of lawsuits.
Haven't you got something important to tell me?
Well, aside from the lawsuits, your production staff quit on account of no pay. They tell me we're going to be evicted from these offices, and the same goes for your house.
Well, creditors scare very easily.
And besides all that, your temperamental captain got drunk and sank the yacht.
I knew that captain would resort to something spectacular. You haven't given me one problem, Hermie, that couldn't be solved with money. And would it interest you to know that in a few days we'll be rolling in the nauseating stuff?
Boss, you found another angel. I can tell by your voice. We got another angel.
Yes, Hermie, we've got another angel.
Oh, boss, not her. Not Vivian, boss.
Why not?
That's one of the reasons I'm calling you. All week long, we've been getting wires from Mexico City wanting to know if you'll stand good on her bills. She's piled up her own national debt down there. She hasn't got a nickel. I got the telegrams right here on your desk. I can read them to you if you want. This is terrible.
What a dirty little pauper.
Thank you. That was lovely.
Afraid my rum is a bit rusty, but with your help.
Senor Bush, you are wanted at the telephone.
Me?
Si, senor.
Perhaps Matt needs some information on his call. Run along and pry him away from that phone if you can.
Excuse me. Busboy said something about a phone call. Why do you have your hat?
Bad news from Hermie. He says that Vivian and I are about to break into the gossip columns.
Oh.
You and I are going to have to fly back to New York tonight.
What excuse are you going to make to Vivian?
None.
But you can't just leave her there, especially if she's going to back the play.
I'm convinced that an entanglement with Vivian would be disastrous. Don't worry about our financial backing. I've decided to get it in a less hazardous manner. Get your things.
You're a special orchid, Senor Saxon. With the help of many friends, I find it.
Oh, thank you very much. I asked you to get this orchid for me for the most beautiful lady in the world. And who do you think that lady is?
I do not know, Senor.
You. I give you this token of my esteem with my fondest compliments.
Oh, gracias, Senor.
I don't know what Matt's going to say about you being here to meet him.
Why shouldn't I be, you frightened little watchdog?
Oh, there they are.
Hello, Matt.
Oh, Matt, you old fly-by-night. It was just by luck that I found out from Hermie you were coming home.
Oh? Well, I can only be here a few minutes. I'm on my way to Hollywood.
Hollywood? What for, boss?
My friend, Eric has finally written the most amazing play in the history of the theater. There's only one person in the world that can play it, and I'm going to Hollywood to get him.
If he can act, what's he doing out there?
Collecting a tidy fortune, you idiot. I'm referring to Peter Stanhope.
Matt, do you think you can get him? Every producer on Broadway's been trying to lure him back.
I haven't. Hermie, get me a reservation on the first westbound plane.
Yeah, what'll we use for money?
Oh, Eric, you can write a check, can't you? I need a little travel money.
Sure. How much?
Oh, 1,500, 2,000 to be on the safe side.
Matt, I hope you'll be in Hollywood for at least a week.
No, that's why you met me at the airport, eh? Hiding someone in your apartment.
I'm going to Hollywood myself next week.
For a picture?
I'm playing the lead.
Naturally, for whom?
Dave Epps.
The contract been signed yet?
It's being drawn up now. I'll sign it before I leave. Oh, Matt, I've waited so long for a break, and to think I got this on my own without your help.
Bound to happen sooner or later. That's the end of the future Mrs. Saxon.
Are you kidding? You know I'm ready to drop of a hat.
Matt, I made out one of these for 500 and the other for 1,500. I didn't think Hermie could get the full amount here.
Oh, well, thank you very much. We'll have some coffee while I'm waiting. Run along, Hermie.
I suppose you'll clam up if I ask what you two black sheep are doing in Mexico City. But Janet will find out tonight.
Is she back from the island?
Since yesterday. She called me.
Does she know where I've been?
Of course. Didn't you tell her?
I didn't have a chance.
Janet's a very broad-minded young lady. As a matter of fact, we've both been working very hard. You'll stay for coffee, won't you?
I better get to the apartment. I'll see you when you get back from Hollywood. Good luck.
Oh, well, say hello to Janet for me.
Sure.
Tell her I'll be over later.
When will that young man stop behaving like a husband?
Never, I hope.
dear?
It's way past midnight, Janet. We'd better be going.
Oh, no, you can't go yet. The class prophecy said I was going to marry a famous man. And here he is. And you haven't even met him. These are my friends from St. Louis, all visiting New York for the first time. And we went to 5 nightclubs. Revolting, isn't it?
Janet, your friends are trying to say goodnight.
Listen, famous author. I have guests. Why don't you get off your high horse and act like a gentleman?
You better excuse yourself to your friends. They may not understand that you're drunk.
Well, will you tell her goodbye for us, Mr. Bush, and we'll phone before we leave town.
I'm sure she'll be all right in the morning.
Nice knowing you, Bush.
Where are you going?
I don't know. It doesn't matter to you, and it doesn't matter to me.
What's bothering you? Is it the fact that I went to Mexico without telling you?
That's your business. You closed me out of your life long ago.
That's unfair, Janet. You know how busy I've been on the play.
All I know is that you've become so tangled up with Matt Saxon, I can't tell one of you from the other. You've turned into an intellectual snob who has nothing in common with his wife. You sent me away so I wouldn't interfere with your writing, and then you went to Mexico. I don't understand you anymore, and I'm fed up with the way you're treating me.
Look, Janet, we've both been under a strain, but it's over now. I've finished the play. Give me a chance to snap out of this nightmare, will you?
I've given up hope that you'll ever be yourself again. I've lost faith in you.
Why can't you be honest and state the simple truth, that you don't love me anymore? Don't blame everything on a change in me. I'm the same man I always was.
Oh, I wish you were. I wish you were.
You poor, long-suffering wife. What are you after, a divorce? Answer me, do you want a divorce, yes or no?
You wouldn't have thought of such a thing unless you wanted one yourself. I'm not going to answer you.
That's a fine way to leave things.
If you should just happen to change your mind about leaving, why,
I won't. You've been wonderful to me, Alma, but I just don't belong in New York anymore. You're going to have company tonight on that plane as far as St. Louis.
Well, at least you'll stay here instead of going back to the apartment to bury your head in a pillow.
Please don't worry about me. I'll finish packing and be back to pick you up after your last show.
You know, if I were the sensitive type, I'd say it's about time I started to mind my own business. Hey, am I seeing things?
Where?
It is. It's Peter Stanhope. He's the one Matt went out to Hollywood to see. Peter, you've come east to do the play. Where's Matt?
He's back in New York, as far as I know. And if you're talking about that stinker called The Comic Spirit, I wouldn't open dead in it, even with Matt directing. May we join you?
Yes, of course, certainly.
I'd like to present Abel Richmond, Alma Ragg,
How do you do?
How do you do?
Janet Bush.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Mrs. Eric Bush.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Bush.
I agree with you. The comic spirit is a stinker.
I will say one thing for Saxon. He got me so interested in the theater again that I've come to New York to look for a play. But under the unspectacular direction of Abel Richmond.
Telephone, Miss Ragg. It's Mr. Bernard in Chris's office.
Oh, thank you very much. My agent. When an agent calls at this hour, he doesn't want to know how you feel. Excuse me.
Your husband has great talent, Mrs. Bush. I've admired his novels tremendously, and I still think he could write a good play.
He did write a good play. When I read the first version of The Comic Spirit, I thought it was wonderful.
Hello, Jack. What's up? Don't tell me my plane reservation's been canceled.
Plane reservation? Your contract's been canceled. Dave Epps won't sign.
Well, that's impossible. It wasn't my idea to work in pictures. He offered the contract.
Look, Alma, I spent 5 hours getting hold of Epps in Hollywood, and I just hung up. The deal is positively cold, and he won't listen to arguments.
But why? I want to know why.
You're asking for it, so listen good. Because if I have to say this twice, I'll throw up. Dave Epps canceled your deal because you're an unreliable drunk who can't be depended on to show up for work more than 3 days in a row.
Are you talking about me?
That's what I asked Epps. He says he knows what he's talking about because he got it straight from the one guy in the world who should know best.
No.
Yes, Alma. Matt Saxon.
Thanks, Jack.
Oh, I hope you'll pardon the intrusion. My name is Peter Stanhope.
Yes, I know.
And this is Abel Richmond, the producer.
I've heard of you, Mr. Richmond. Won't you step inside?
Thank you.
Can I offer you a drink or something?
No, thank you.
Well, then at least sit down, won't you?
Thank you.
Saxon telephoned me from Hollywood and told me that you'd read the play.
Yes, Matt was quite upset when I turned it down.
Turned it down?
Didn't he tell you? It was more than a week ago.
Maybe we'd better explain why we're here. Peter's in New York looking for a play, or perhaps Mrs. Bush told you. We saw her tonight, and...
Mrs. Bush and I are separated. I haven't seen her for several days.
You have a very loyal, separated wife. She's the reason we're here.
She defended your play so well that we'd like to read it. The original version, I mean.
I don't see what that would accomplish. Saxon has an option on the play.
You're mistaken. He no longer has any legal hold on your script.
I've admired your novel so much, Bush, that I'm anxious to see what kind of a play you wrote without Saxon's help. No harm can come from letting us look at it.
If Saxon let his option lapse because of financial reasons, I'll string along with him. I'll get you a copy of the script.
Such loyalty ought to be deserved.
Pardon me.
Agnes!
Sniveling menial.
Alma. Darling, it's wonderful to see you.
I only came to say a few things to you. Not in anger. I'm just going to deliver them in a plain, unaccented style. And that's all, brother.
Alma, not you. The whole world of the theater is turned against me. The theater to which I gave so much and from which I asked so little. I'm bankrupt, spiritually and physically. You are the only living person who can help me through this crisis.
I want you to tell me why you killed my job in Hollywood. Why you told Dave Epps I'd never be able to finish the picture. Why you lied about my being an incurable alcoholic.
Alma, what are you saying? How could Dave have misunderstood me so completely? I told him you'd be wonderful in the part. I told him you'd be even better if he'd give you a couple of weeks' rest and postpone the picture. I told him that you were tired.
I actually believe you've so poisoned your mind that you don't know why you lied about me. Well, I'll tell you why. You were jealous. You were jealous because I was able to get a part without your help. You were afraid I might become independent. Because once you get your hands on a property like me or Eric Bush or any of the others, you're not willing to let go until you personally are the one that says get out. Well, this time you've missed. Because I'm saying to you, get out of my life. You were in my hair, but good. Well, now I've combed you out, and out you stay.
Alma, give me 30 seconds. You admit you love me, give me 30 seconds.
All right? You can have 30 seconds. Let's hear your routine.
This is no act. It may look like it, but this is the real thing. An actress once threatened to drink this if I didn't give her a job.
15 seconds.
I swear to you that if you walk out on me now, I'll drink this to the last drop.
10 seconds.
Alma, my death will be on your hands.
5 seconds.
Alma!
That's it.
Hello? Matt, where are you? You don't sound so good. Are you ill?
Well, that Hollywood session was no picnic, Eric. Can you come over to my office and we'll talk things out? Yes, right away. Well, I said I'm rather tired.
I'm expecting a call, Matt. If you want to see me tonight, you'll have to come to my apartment.
All right. If you insist, I'll be there in about 15 minutes. Greetings from an unworthy ambassador on your behalf. Did I hear you ask me if I'd have some brandy? I could do with a spot.
What happened in Hollywood? How did you make out with Peter Stanhope?
That ham, I wouldn't hire him as a walk-on.
I asked you what happened.
Hollywood has ruined him. He's forgotten how to act. I listened to him read for 5 minutes, and then I snatched the script from his hand. The timing's like a toy watch.
But you said he was practically signed.
So he was. So he was. Before I had my inspiration. The one man in the world today, Eric, who can play Moliere. The one! And he had completely slipped my mind. Think of Moliere, Eric. Think of the character as you have written him. Think hard. And now I'll say his name. David Lee.
Who's he?
What provincial rock have you been living under that you have not heard of David Lee? David Lee, the English actor, tragedian, comedian, everything. I'm flying to London tomorrow to start negotiations, and incidentally, you better write me out a check for $3,500. My account has been tied up by some silly kind of a lawsuit.
Are you talking about the David Lee who was in Hamlet here last season?
I knew you'd remember him. Perfect casting, Eric, believe me.
But he's at least 50 years old.
Let's face it, Eric, you haven't written a play, you've written a vehicle. A vehicle to be molded like gelatin to fit its star. With David Lee in the part, we can start the play in the second act, in the scene where Moliere realizes that he's getting to be an old man.
I see.
We throw out the first act and half the second act.
No, we don't throw out anything. He simply plays those early scenes in retrospect. I admit it means a bit of rewriting, but there'll be plenty of time for that while I'm in London. You better write out that check before we both forget it. What's the matter, Eric? You in trouble? Where's Janet?
She's living with Alma.
You've separated?
I'd rather not talk about it.
Well, of course we'll talk about it. Get it out of your system. It's the best thing in the world that could have happened to you.
Hello.
Mr. Bush, Abel Richmond. I understand Saxon is back in town. Can you speak freely?
No.
I thought not. Well, listen carefully. Stanhope and I have read your original version. We think it's terrific. He wants to do it. I want to direct it. We don't want to change a line. And we guarantee to go into rehearsal within 10 days. What's your answer? Just simply say yes or no.
Yes.
Ah, so at last you freed yourself, hmm?
Yes.
No, I know you're upset now, Eric, but you're better off a bachelor. You'll have more time for your writing and a wider variety of women for your literary palate. You're an artist, Eric, not a country school teacher. You have no idea how much your work suffered because of Janet. Well, there's nothing wrong with her. She's just typical woman, that's all. And no artist can function when he's chained to the commonplace. Good riddance, my boy. Janet was not for you. She was for a floor walker or a small-town grocer or an insurance salesman.
I was trying to get you at home. What happened to your eye, boss?
Never mind my eye. Why are you calling me?
The boys are calling from the papers. Abel Richmond is producing the comic Spirit with Peter Stanhope. What happened with you and Bush?
That cheap pulp writer. Where were you a while ago when I needed you?
Looking for a job, boss.
You ungrateful rat.
Okay, I'm anything you say, but I got a wife and kids and they gotta eat. Maybe you don't know it yet, but you're finished on Broadway. From top to bottom, they're closing you out. I'm sorry. I don't know how to tell you, boss. It's as if you've forgotten that people are people. You don't even think of yourself as a human being anymore. When that happens, a person's bound to hurt a lot of people. I guess most of all himself. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, boss?
Yeah.
If you ask me to stick with you, I will. You know that. But please don't ask me to. Please don't.
Bye, Hermie.
So long, boss.
Mr. Cyril Lethem, please. 2307. Hello? Hello, Cyril. Did I wake you up? This is Matt Saxon. I'm sorry, I just got back from Hollywood. And I was met with some very tragic news. I said I was met with some very the news of my ex-wife's death. Suicide, I'm afraid. Yes, it's horrible. I can't sleep. And I feel so terribly alone. I know it's asking a great deal, and I have no right to ask it, but I thought maybe if you could meet me someplace, it might help me to talk with you about your play. No, I haven't read it yet. But if you could meet me somewhere, anywhere, I see. Yes. But did you agree to let him produce it? Did you sign anything? Oh. Well, suppose you let me take care of that little detail. Unless, of course, you prefer an idiot like that to mutilate your material. Fine. Well, there's a little place called the Fuss and Feathers.
I'm in the mood for love simply because you're near me. Funny, but when you're near me, I'm in the mood for love. Heaven is in your eyes, bright as the stars we're under. Oh, is it any wonder?
Alma said you'd be back. Janet, look.
I stop to think
Saxon?
Yeah.
This little dream might fade. We'll put our hearts together.
This is terrible, darling. I rehearsed over and over what I'd like to say to you. But now my mind's a blank.
Maybe we'd better hurry to the island while it's still blank.
Darling.
Save it.